Oh, it's Petro Predictions here. Try and do this geographically from west to east across the globe. So firstly, USA. You had Greg Berhalter as manager for the 2022 World Cup. However, his contract was not renewed. This could be due to him not really getting the best out of his attacking players, and he played quite a rigid style of football. And at the moment, you've got Anthony Hudson in the interim role, so it's not sure whether he'll stay there for long or not. Gerardo Martino was sacked as Mexican manager, understandably, as this was their worst World Cup since being disqualified for the 1990 World Cup for political reasons. So if we're going to look at performance alone, Mexico failed to qualify last time or even make it out of the group stage in a World Cup since 1982. So it's really been like, 40 odd years. So it's understandable why Martino got sacked. And in came Diego Coca instead now. It's quite interesting when you look at it that 2 out of the 3 hosts for the 2026 World Cups have decided to change their manager. So it looks like USA and Mexico are clearly wanting to improve in time for that tournament. Alfaro stepped down as Ecuadorian manager. This is probably the one I'm most disappointed with, as I thought Alfaro really got the best out of this Ecuadorian team. Yes, he didn't play attractive football. It was boring at times, but I thought they were very tactically astute under Alfaro, and I thought they actually played very well, and they were unfortunate to not get out of their group. But it will be very interesting to see Felix Sanchez, who has been hired as Ecuadorian manager, take the helm now. Chiche stepped down as Brazilian manager, and what he said, it was because it came to the end of his cycle in terms of the contract and he did not wish to renew the contract. I think in this case though, it was a lot of Chiche putting pressure on himself and the squad as a whole to really perform in this particular World Cup with all the talent they have right now. But it was just a case of they didn't live up to expectations, really. And now you've got Ramon Menezes in interim role right now. However, though, it's unclear how long Menezes will stay for. And yes, there's been talks and gossip of foreign manager coming in, but would this really be the Brazilian way? Such a massive footballing nation to turn to a foreign manager. Apparently Diego Alonso was very keen to resign as Uruguay manager, as I think he didn't live up to expectations of getting out the group stage, and Uruguay did fail to score in 2 out of their 3 World Cup games. They only scored in 1, so a lot of lack in expectations, and I even expected them to do better this World Cup. But if you look at it, Diego Alonso actually came towards the end of the World Cup qualifiers, as Uruguay were kind of worried of not even making that automatic qualification. So maybe it was a bit of a quick fix with Diego Alonso, and he might have realised that himself. And right now you've got Marcelo Broly as interim manager. Again, it's not clear though how long he will stay for. And I've just clocked now actually that 3 out of the 4 South American nations in the last World Cup have changed their managers. That is great instability for South America right now. Otto Addo stepped down as the Ghanaian manager, and he was very adamant about it, that he was only there temporarily, as he said that even if Ghana did win the World Cup, he was always going to leave. So again, that instability, he was only there for the World Cup anyways. But luckily, up stepped Chris Hughton, who was there during the World Cup for Ghana as an assistant manager or some kind of supportive role like that. So it's nicely smoothing into that role for Chris Hughton anyway. And looking at it, only 1 out of the 5 African nations have changed managers. Phew, at least more stability for Africa. Having various successes with the Spanish national team, in quite a relatively short time, Luis Enrique has stepped down, and in come De La Fuente, who has managed the junior national team, so he seems to understand the system well. Louis van Gaal left the Dutch managerial role for health and other reasons, and in came Ronald Koeman, who has worked with the national Dutch side before. It looks like he knows the players very well, and I actually think this is the best managerial change since the World Cup. After 6 years, Roberto Martinez left his role as Belgian manager, even though I think he was going to get sacked, so he tactically stepped down. After 8 years, Fernando Santos has stepped down as the Portuguese manager, even though he won them their first ever major trophy. I think this was the right decision, as his tactics just seem outdated for such an attacking Portuguese squad right now, and he ended up being Polish manager now anyway, so it's a win-win for him. And actually with this Portuguese vacancy, Roberto Martinez has been hired as Portuguese manager now, which for me comes across as really strange. Like, why would Portugal hire, one, a foreign manager, and two, Roberto Martinez out of all people? Despite getting Poland to the World Cup knockout stages for the first time since 1986, Poland decided to sack Michniewicz for the various reasons. There was a lot of drama within the Polish FA with him involved. And later on, they hired Fernando Santos, who has a tournament winning experience, I guess. But Poland has had foreign managers in the past and they haven't succeeded. Roberto Martinez going from Belgium to Portugal, Fernando Santos going from Portugal to Poland. Surely this is a love triangle of Michniewicz going from Poland to Belgium. No, unfortunately, there is no love triangle. Instead, Belgium appointed Tedesco, which does come as a surprise to me. They're going with another foreign manager again. Within the space of 12 months, Iran has had 3 different managers. That is an awful statistic. Let's start with the first one, Skocic. He actually comfortably qualified Iran for the World Cup. However, he got sacked for political and various other reasons. So then Iran kind of panicked. They had no one for the World Cup. So then they hired Carlos Queiroz again. Carlos Queiroz himself and the Iranian FA really thought he could be the man to break Iran's World Cup curse. He didn't. They had a bad tournament. They failed the group stage again. Carlos Queiroz has jumped ship, and now Iran have actually appointed a native coach, Galenoy, who has worked in Iranian football for a long time. He knows the football very well, and this seems like a very good fit for Iran and for their football in future. Felix Sanchez has been in Qatar since 2006. He's been working there for 16 years, and within this time frame, he's worked within the Aspire Academy, then working his way up to the under-19 squad, under 23, and then the Qatari senior squad. And within that time frame, in 2014, he won the under-19 Asian Cup, and 5 years later, we can see this nice transition with the same crop of players, as in 2019, he won the Asian Cup with the senior Qatari national squad. However, Qatar had a bad debut World Cup, as they have been the worst performing host in a World Cup ever, and Qatar pinpointed that to the manager, unfortunately, regardless of the success Felix Sanchez has had within Qatar football. But they made that decision. I think they had very high expectations of themselves, and out went Sanchez, and in slimed in Carlos Queiroz. So we'll see where Qatar football takes its turn next. Paulo Bento left the South Korean managerial role after some 4 years. There's no hard feelings though. He did really well and they had a very good World Cup, and I think for Paulo Bento it was more just about taking a break, and now they've hired Jurgen Klinsmann, so we'll see how that fits. But all in all, half of the Asian nations have changed their managers. This does look like instability right now. All in all, that's 14 out of the 32 nations that have changed their managers since the World Cup. That's almost half the number. So we're seeing a lot of transition, a lot of changes within international football associations. It seems like this is a lot as well though, and especially with Iran, who's changing their managers a lot within the past few years. But then maybe it's really necessary to move forward, like for the Netherlands and Belgium, to really look forward to that next stage in their international football really. But what do you guys think? Do you think managers should change very frequently in international football? Do you think there needs to be longer and more consistency? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you in the next video.